meeting held on Thursday, February 27th, 2025. This meeting is being live streamed and publicly broadcast. Recordings of this meeting will be available on our website in the future. Call the meeting to order and begin with the land acknowledgement statement. We would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that Dufferin County resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Tiatonte, Adaranaran, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples. We also acknowledge that various municipalities within the County of Dufferin reside within the treaty lands named under the Haldimand Deed of 1784 and two of the Williams Treaties of 1818, Treaty 18, the Nottawasaga Purchase, and Treaty 19, the Ages Treaty. These traditional territories upon which we live and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection of Indigenous peoples and with this land, its waterways and resources. And if we could do a roll call.
Thank you. Councillor Garretts?
Present.
Councillor Hall is absent. Warner Horner?
Present.
Councillor Mills?
Present.
Councillor Solomon?
Present.
Councillor Taylor?
Present.
Councillor White is absent. And Chair Croman.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council are free to make a declaration of pecuniary interest at this point in the meeting or at any point followed up in writing with the clerk. Do we have any questions submitted? No questions. I don't believe we have any delegations or presentations today. And that takes us to our first report, Citywide Implementation Support. Amy, would you like to take us through this?
Sure. Through you, Chair. I also have Bruce here to support me because we wrote this report together. We are moving along in our citywide implementation, which is the maintenance management and the asset management system. And we're finding that we need some support to help with the implementation. There's a lot of data collection and a lot of work that needs to be done, and we just don't have the resources to help us with that. Any questions? Sure.
So I think the report is fairly self-evident, and because it stems from asset management, I believe there are some provincial requirements in terms of reporting of asset management progress, and does that feed into to the province's requirements?
Yes, the new system actually will help us with pulling our asset management plan together. It'll make it a little easier because all the data will be in one location. Right now it's in a bunch of different places. It will also help with FIR reporting, and it will also help with our reporting on gas tax and OCIF projects.
Okay. And I think, as I recall, the provincial reporting is pretty important because it's dependent upon getting their attention and largesse in the form of grants in the future.
Yeah.
Yes. Councillor Taylor, and then
Just from an administration standpoint, Councillor White is on the line he's trying to get on, and he can't. He's waiting for another link to be sent for the Zoom meeting. Just wanted to share.
Just a question
Councillor
for Amy. We've been on the citywide software for how long?
We actually don't have it yet here at the
Oh,
county. We're just in the process of implementing it.
But I thought we had citywide for other aspects.
We have City View
Oh, City
for the building
View.
department, yes.
Okay, so this is the same company?
No,
Oh, it's a different company?
it is.
And so there will be significant training required and,
Yes, which is
Okay.
the other thing this person will assist with, especially on Bruce's team.
okay. Yeah, I was confused. I thought we had city
Yeah, it confuses
already.
everybody.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that clarification.
I made the same mistake. Should we maybe wait for Councillor White to join us before we read the motion? I think that might be a good idea.
That's up to you. You do have quorum. You can still go on.
Okay, and when he comes on, then I'll recognize him for this item to readdress if necessary. So I have a recommendation by way of a motion that the report of the Manager of Corporate Finance, Treasurer, and Manager of Operations and Fleet Report Corporate Services 2025-008 Citywide Implementation Support dated February 27th, 2025 be received, and that staff engage a consultant to assist with the implementation of Citywide, and that the additional costs be funded through the reserve for software upgrades. Do I have a mover to that? Moved and seconded by Janet Horner. Thank you. Any opposition to that motion? Seeing none, the motion carries. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Next item on the agenda is the annual development charges report, and again, this is from the Manager of Corporate Finance, Treasurer. Amy, any highlights of the report?
I don't have any. There's two things to note. I did notice that the studies is still in a negative balance, and the childcare is in a negative balance as well. That means we're not collecting as quickly as what we hoped, which is another reason why we want to do the development charge background study later this year.
Okay. Any questions stemming from this report? And I think the indication is the last time we had a study was 2022. And I've often expressed my view that we should be taking a hard look at how residential housing is considered from the standpoint of the larger versus the smaller homes and the impact that the larger homes place on services as distinct from the smaller homes. And we have made that distinction in Mono and have a different rate for the larger homes, sometimes known as monster homes. So I hope we'll keep that in mind as we go forward. Are there any questions with regard to the study before I read the motion? So the recommendation is that the report of the Manager, Corporate Finance, Treasurer Report, Corporate Services 2025-009 Annual Development Charges Report dated February 27th, 2025 be received. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mills, would you like to move that? And seconded by Councillor Taylor. Any opposition to that motion? That motion is carried. Councillor, is Councillor White on now? He is on. Councillor White, we've dealt with two items on the agenda. One having to do with the citywide implementation. Pardon me. Citywide, yes, citywide, and the other one having to do with the report having to do with development charges. Did you have any questions that you'd like to ask, and we can recycle to those?
No, thank you, Chair. I was good on both those.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the annual statement regarding remuneration to council, and it is comprised of two things. Number one, remuneration in all its forms, and the second is attendance. Are there any questions flowing from that? Councillor Taylor?
Just a comment, if I could. I really think it's important that we're all here and dedicated to it as much as we potentially can. And I think on balance, this report, the attendance report, indicates that that's the case. I just wanted to kind of call out and give a hero biscuit to Councillor Post and Councillor Wrench. To be able to be here for every meeting is noteworthy and impressive.
Exactly. So if I see no other hands up, I have a motion here that the report of the Manager of Corporate Finance Treasurer Report Corporate Services 2025-004 dated February 27th, 2025 be received. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Garrett's moved, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Anything further? Any opposed? And that motion is carried. Next report of the Treasurer pertains to 2024 investment activity. Amy, anything you'd like to indicate before I open it up? Okay, Councillor Taylor.
I just wanted to quickly talk to the general funds, and I can read. There's comments in here about what the general funds are. It's operating reserves, capital fund reserves, you know, Dufferin 109. It's just, to me, there's so much in there now, and I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about the general gist of it and what is in there specifically, and how is that driving up to having so much.
Through you, Chair, it is, a large portion of it is the capital asset fund. It's over $20 million now. We also have, I think, just over $20 million in reserves for various purposes, $10 million, over 10 being rate stabilization. And then it's just, we just have additional cash in hand. All of our money does come in advance prior to spending it, so we're able to take advantage of investing it and just keeping our cash flow on par. I would expect this to drop over the next few years, especially as we move into a few of the larger different projects that we have on the go. It's definitely going to pull from these.
So on that, and thank you for that, I remember seeing the reports and I can picture the graph in my mind, but at some point, how low do we get and then when do we build again? Can you just refresh me?
Are you speaking to the capital asset fund
I
in
guess
particular?
I guess I'm referring to the overall general funds. Like, is that, are you saying, I'm sorry, maybe I'm just misunderstood. So in the general funds, you're saying there's three different funds and you're layering it up to call it general funds? Is that what you're doing? Okay.
Yeah, like the capital asset fund is part of the general fund.
And that's 20 million.
Yeah,
And then it sounds like there's sort of 10 that's unspoken for.
that's the rate stabilization reserve. And then there's another 10 million or so in reserves themselves, which is all part of the general fund.
Gotcha. And would it be an unfair question to ask? So it is going to fall. What will it fall to? And I remember, did we not have a graph at one point? And it's
That is the capital asset fund. That's the only one I have a graph on.
And that capital asset fund is in the general funds that you're referring to here?
Correct. And I think it dips to, I want to say around 12 or 13 million at one point
Of the 20.
of the 20, yeah.
And then what happens to the other two, the 10 and the 10?
So the reserves is something I'll be looking at this year a little bit closer and coming up with a better plan and how we want to use it or set it aside the funds for. So I'll be coming back to council with a report on that. And the rest is just, like, for example, we have money from Ritchie Brothers, and we have money for the development at 109. So we have a lot of developer money sitting in the bank account right now. And because we're not using it, I just keep investing what I can so we can earn more money.
That sounds good, Mr. Chair. Just to admit my incompetence here. Well, it feels like, again, like listening and having that conversation, do we still have, you can never have too much money in municipal government, I understand that. But do we have too much money in and we shouldn't, like, what do we, it feels like we've got too much money, I guess is my thought. Am I crazy?
It's a great question, but the better question is how much money should we have set aside? And I don't know off the
I
top of my
think
head.
that's a great question too.
Yeah.
Is there a way then to divide this out and see what's there and have a more fulsome discussion about what we have in there and what we should be using it for? Like maybe a detailed piece? I was thinking about this when we went through the budget too. Like, again, you can never have too much. I think a healthy municipality has lots of war chests. I'm not challenging. I just starting to feel like there's a lot in there.
Again, that's one of the reasons why we want to look at the reserves and have that discussion with council.
Mr. Chair, when will we do that?
Sometime this year.
Sometime this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions before I read the motion? Okay, I have a motion that the report of the manager of corporate finance, treasurer, corporate services, 2025-07, 2024 investment activity dated February 27th, 2025 be received. Do I have a mover on that? I was looking for Phil Solomon, maybe, spreading the business around, and seconded by Janet Horner. Any opposition to the motion? Motion's carried. Moving to correspondence, we have a letter and a presentation by our auditor, MNP LLP. And are there any questions stemming from their materials as submitted? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I have a motion that correspondence from MNP LLP dated February 10th, 2025 regarding the 2024 audit service plan be received. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Garrett, seconded by Councillor Horner. Any opposition to that motion? The motion is carried. That brings us to notices of motion. Seeing none, is there any other business that anyone wants to raise? Seeing none, just to indicate our next meeting is Thursday, March 27th at this location, same time. And that will be our second last meeting as a standalone committee. Last meeting as a standalone committee while we try out the new format. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Mills, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Any opposition to adjournment? And we are adjourning at 18 minutes past 11. Thank you.